I guess the question is about always already versus a transmigrating soul.
Okay.
And I think for all of us who engage in a practice, is there a final yes? Is there a point to where the individual ego is just completely gone? And I guess that's getting back to Advaita Vedanta, where there's supposedly just one substance, and then the manifold universe comes out of that, and then it goes back to that. If you could just elaborate on that, I'd greatly appreciate it.
Okay. Um, the reason I'm hesitating is that there's a what you might call a theoretical answer to that, and then a real world answer to that. In the real world, the answer is the individuality ever fully destroyed? And the answer is no. But that doesn't stop a pure non-dual realization from being possible. And let me try to give an example right now that could be based on your experiential, your understanding right now from what's in your awareness, and see if this is a little bit close to it. Because we can talk about some of the philosophical analysis that's given for that. Ramanuja versus Shankara is the classic example in Vedanta and so on. But try this thought experiment. Everybody has been introduced to your true nature, ever-present big mind. And however you want to conceive it, it's that which is right now witnessing everything that's arising. And the thing that you notice about it is it's spontaneous and it's effortless. You don't have to make any effort right now whatsoever to hear my voice. Everything is just simply arising, and it's arising in a free-floating way. And if you just sort of relax into that big mind, the space in which it's happening, then it's all arising within you. Although within and without kind of doesn't have too much meaning. So if you are resting in that ever-present big mind, and everybody is resting in that isness that they are right now, even though sort of oneness and two-ness doesn't make a lot of sense, we know what we mean if we say there's only one big mind. Everybody is plunged to the same isness, that there's no difference in that sense. So let's just say that we're all perfectly aware of emptiness or big mind, and it's one. It's the Vedanta radical absolute one. But in a manifest world, notice that there's one thing that happens. I mean, this oneness that you are is still looking out through your finite body. And even if we had no ego, all of us were completely free of ego, which of course we are, and we were a pure vessel and transparency to that oneness. There's still one thing that doesn't change. In your finite body, there is an awareness that still has your perspective. Now, this oneness, it's there, everything is self-cognizing, and that's very true. But when you move as a rupakaya, as a finite self, you're looking through these eyes in this way. And the one thing that can't be the same in any of us is I can't put my body exactly where your body is and look exactly physically through your eyes. That simply is the one thing that's never going to happen. And so there's an individuality built into your manifestation. There's something unique about your manifestation that's never going to go away. And that's okay. That doesn't stop that oneness from being one, and it doesn't stop you from being able to realize that oneness in an unbroken, continuous, timeless way. And it's still looking out through those eyes when it looks out. So I understand there are some real issues involved, philosophical issues as well in all of that. But I think the simplest way to come down, both experientially, and then I'll be glad to philosophy of it, and I still believe philosophically they're not incompatible. That you can have this radical oneness, but it inseparably manifests as manyness, and that's not a contradiction or mutually exclusive. And you can feel it as you rest in that oneness. You increasingly can inhabit this form without losing track of that oneness. It's sort of what we were talking about. We were talking about the descent over mind which is also just going out like this. And so non-duality doesn't have to tend to just that monistic oneness without any differences at all. There are states of consciousness that are like that, and they're all variations on nirvikalpa. They're all variations on nirod, or cessation, deep formless sleep. Then in that, there is no manifestation, and so you don't have to worry about the issues we're talking about. Yeah. But when you come into the manifest domain, then you come into it with a perspective that's uniquely yours. And that's part of the manifestation of that oneness. Yeah. It's East and West too. Plato and Aristotle had a fight about that one. And interestingly, because Plato is held to be the dualist, and Aristotle sort of the this worldly philosopher, Plato actually comes down in favor of a radical union between the transcendental and the eminent. Plato is a very strong non-dualist. And people that talk about him being dualistic really haven't studied him that well. And Aristotle, strangely, his idea of the one is that it's so perfect it never manifests. Because if it manifested something, that would mean it felt it lacked something. And it didn't lack anything. So it was just its own perfect oneness forever. And all things strive to reach that oneness and never get there. Now that's one frustrated male human being. That is somebody who needs to get laid. You know what I mean? Bad. And Plato, interestingly, says, no, wait a minute. If you have this perfect one, a one that can't create is less perfect than one that can. So real perfection results in a superabundant outflowing into the world. And that's Plato. And he's exactly right. And that superabundant outflowing is how we all showed up here for a workshop.